the 419 with Gretchen DeBacker, Matt Killam, and Kevin Mullen.
Welcome into the 419, powered by WGTE and presented by Witro Wealth Management. I'm Kevin Mullen.
Gretchen DeBacker.
Matt Killam.
It is our special surprise guest episode here on the 419, part of our throwback to the original podcast, but also something that we just fully admittedly stole from the podcast Smartless.
That's right.
So
Totally lifted.
yeah,
But basically, one of us brings someone on, and the other two don't know who it is, and we just sort of have a organic, in theory, conversation with the person.
When we started the podcast and you guys would explain to people what we were doing, was there ever a moment of like shame that like we stole this like blatantly from somebody else?
No.
Yeah, me neither. That's why I'm asking.
I've never had an original idea in my whole life.
No, I defend people of theft every single day, so I don't have a problem with it at all.
Oh, well, that's an interesting way to put that, Gretchen. All right. But the people you defend didn't actually do it.
That's right.
Yeah.
As far as you know.
Yep, that's right. Okay, perfect. All right, so this is your guess.
Yes.
Which for folks that are new to the show are going to learn. So when I was growing up, we'd go to church on Sunday and they would always say like, you know, today is Charity Sunday. Every Sunday was Charity Sunday. So when we say one of the three of us is going to bring on a surprise guest, what we really mean is the majority of the time Gretchen is going to bring on a surprise guest.
That has been exactly what it is. Yeah. Although the momentary panic when I think it's me.
Yeah, you're
Right.
like, oh, I didn't text someone yesterday.
As I pass people or I head into Speedway, I'm like, which one of these people do I think is
Which one of these
potentially
would be
not
the
a
biggest
streetwalker?
surprise?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I have a good guess for you today. I teased yesterday that it's a woman, so that
Sure.
that cat is out of the bag.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna give some clues that I share
Cat's
in
out of the
common.
bag. Just as a second,
Yeah.
that expression, does anyone know the etymology? As I'm looking at your faces, I realize that this is not a good.
Who put a cat in a bag?
Yeah. Cat's
Smart
out of the
people.
bag. Sorry.
Sorry. Okay, so this person, there's a couple of things that I have in common with this person. One is that
Short, definitive statements.
we both
Use ons.
used to own a coffee house
Okay.
Okay.
in Toledo. The second is, go ahead.
Used to.
Yes. Well, I don't own a coffee house now, and neither does she.
All right, now I'm out.
Okay. The second is that we both worked for the city of Toledo.
Okay.
Okay.
Our offices were right
Adjacent?
next door to each other.
Shared a wall.
Shared a wall. Shared a hallway, then a wall. But anyway, that doesn't matter. And then the third
What does
is,
adjacent mean to you?
well, it's not a shared
Your
wall.
Cat's out of the bag.
Your
Just trying to be
offices weren't
technically
is that
correct.
right?
your offices weren't exactly juxtapositions. to
That's
each
right.
other.
They weren't juxtaposed.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, right.
that's not a
good.
thing. And
Yeah.
also, we both. This is the one that's going to get you. Is that we both, again, to varying degrees of success, but we both swim laps at the University of Toledo Rec Center.
Okay.
So if you hang out at the
Boy,
pool,
I
you would
don't-
know this.
Yeah, I don't have any idea who this is.
No.
Yeah.
Really?
My
So excited.
Rolodex of coffee shop owners
Yeah.
is limited to 2.
Me.
So you're former, so
Okay.
3.
Okay.
All right, so 3. But both of them are current coffee shop
Okay.
owners. So I don't know that I know any former coffee shop owners.
Cat's out of the bag.
But you think that we
The cat in
do.
the bag.
You think that we do know this person,
I think you do. Yes.
All right.
and we just may not
You
realize.
just don't know these cool things about her.
That's
Sure.
That's right. All right.
All right.
All right. When we come back, we will meet Gretchen's surprise guest.
I almost
That
just said the
and
name.
more on the 419, powered by WGTE and presented by Witro Wealth Management.
Support for the 419 comes from Witro Wealth Management, where we understand that your financial path is personal. Advisory services are offered through Capital Investment Advisory Services, LLC. Securities offered through Capital Investment Group, Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. More information at WitroAdvisors.com.
The 419, powered by WGTE, is made possible in part by supporters like you. Thank you.
Introducing The Local Thread, a community news series uniting voices and storytellers from across the region. In partnership with La Prensa, the Toledo Free Press, the Sojourner's Truth, Toledo Public Schools, and veteran journalist Jerry Anderson. The Local Thread brings you stories and conversations that connect our community. Hear it weeknights at 7 on FM 91 with early access on podcast platforms each morning. The Local Thread, only on WGTE.
Welcome back into the 419, our surprise guest edition of the 419. It's Gretchen's surprise guest, and I am so mad at myself
I am as
right
well.
now.
I love the
Because-
fact that you both got
Yeah.
stumped.
The hints were owns a coffee shop,
Owned.
owned a coffee shop,
Let me highlight some of the problems.
Yeah.
worked in government with
City
City of Toledo, and swims laps at UT. And I actually, like, as soon as she walked around the corner, I knew 2 of the 3 facts about her, very obviously, and we've spoken in the last.
Well, I said
10
I've spoken to
days.
like both of you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, let's make sure our
I drove
audience
over here this morning.
our audience
Yeah, I didn't know what for, but
knows that we've been joined by Sandy Spang, who is the executive director of the newly named, and we'll get to it, Lake Erie West Regional Council, formerly known as TMACOG. But thank you for being my surprise guest.
Goodness, this is a life goal to be on this show. Thank you.
that
We need
is
to
alarming.
talk about your life goals.
Oh, okay.
Sandy, are you a morning person, early
Oh
rise?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What time
actually,
does?
Well, I've been actually also swimming at Sylvania Masters, which is kind of a little misnomer for me because I'm in lane 1, and if you're thinking is lane 1 the best or the slowest, it's the slowest. But I've been with them for about 2.5 years. You're coached. I've never been
Wow.
athletically coached in my life,
You're
and
kidding
of
me.
course, being me, I take it way too seriously.
That sounds right.
And we swim Tuesdays and Thursdays
Okay.
at 5:30 a.m.
Okay.
And I'm a South Toledoan, so that's a long drive.
hike.
So I'm up really early, and on Saturdays we do a 90-minute swim
Mm-hmm.
at 6:15 in the morning. So
On
yeah.
Saturdays.
What got you into swimming?
You know, my kids were swimmers. They were age group swimmers, St. Francis swimmers, and then one of them even swam college. And I had sat through so many swim meets and doing crossword puzzles, usually missing my kids' swims. You know, there's a T-shirt I've seen at a swim meet. It said, "If God said you only have one day left to live, make it a swim meet."
Yeah.
They
It'd be
last
so long.
forever.
Yeah.
But you break a few things, you sprain a few things, pretty soon what's left.
Yeah.
And I was never a runner, so I took some classes. And at first, I could only make it down one length.
Sure.
And I have.
Well, you are 3 feet tall, so in fairness.
There is that.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
You're a tiny person.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, look at Michael. And body shape and height makes a difference. But last
Not in my
year,
case.
I went on a swim trek trip. Swim trek can take you anywhere in the world at any level of swimming. And I went to Majorca. And for a week long, and our final day, we swam a 4K in the ocean. Every day we
my
swam
gosh.
a couple of
In the ocean?
Yeah, a couple of 2 or 3Ks. But the last day we did a 4K, and you know that's different. It's such a metaphor for life because when you're swimming open water, you have to keep sighting. You have to keep
Yeah.
lifting your head and keeping your eye because everybody had watches. Some people swam 3.2 kilometers at one particular swim. Somebody else only swam 2.8. What was the difference? How they sighted.
Sure.
It's like that Family Circus cartoon where they go, you know, Billy goes
Yeah,
everywhere.
yeah.
And so that was such a learning experience for me. I came in last of every single swim, but it was an international group of people and they were so supportive and I
did
just kept doing it. Sheer will, I
Wow,
did.
what an
That sounds like you
adventure
to
that
me.
is.
Yeah.
Oh, it was.
That's amazing.
So I will tell you something about the ocean. It's really, really salty. And
This is not a science show, but that's helpful
I know.
information. Yeah. Yeah.
And as you're swimming, you're like, oh my gosh. And they'll throw you your bottle. There's a boat accompanying you. They'll throw you your water bottle. But boy, it doesn't help. It is so salty.
Yeah.
No.
So that
How
was.
long does that swim take out of
Oh,
curiosity?
for me, hours.
Several days.
Yeah,
Sandy, since Kevin and I both embarrassingly missed our clues here, which I am shocked at as well.
I don't
but
feel seen at all. I'm sorry.
Well, I do want to.
No, but you should because
friends.
I loved both of your coffee shops.
Me as well. Yeah, absolutely.
So again, for
and
our
adore
audience,
you.
It's you started Plate 21 with your son, I believe.
Actually, my daughter.
Your daughter.
My son was at college. My daughter, pretty much the vision of a 15-year-old. So that's some trust.
That's how people describe Gretchen
Well, yeah.
today.
And you know, it was 2009. We were still very much in the throes of the recession. But I bought that building, and nobody else was going to rent it. And I said to my husband, I think I want to do a coffee shop because everywhere I ever traveled, I was always looking for independent coffee houses. I was a study abroad student. I had my first cappuccino in Italy. I really loved that independent coffee scene, and third wave coffee was just really kind of coming on. And she was so instrumental. She became a really adept barista. She did latte art competitions.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Oh no, and
Interesting.
I will tell you, she introduced matcha to Toledo because
All
she's
right.
like, she's working on the tea menu, and she says, you know, I really think we ought to get on this matcha thing. It's so healthy. And I was like,
Interesting.
it kind of tastes like, I mean, I love it, but people
Yeah.
think it tastes, I said, I don't know if we can do that. And she came up with a recipe that people
Yeah.
loved, and we did it frozen, and then we started doing lattes, and we were way ahead of matcha.
Is the barista competition also in the oceans of Mallorca?
No. Big cities, usually big cities.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was a location in South Toledo, and then you had a second location in downtown Toledo.
in your old
Yes,
Sufficient Grounds location.
that's right, in the Ohio
so,
building.
So Plate One, 15 years old when I sold it, now I think 17 years old, sold it to a former employee, her husband, and they brought another couple in, and they are killing it.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's different, which it should be, it's evolving, but it's still very much a part of the neighborhood. And I'll tell you, the name always confused people because I found an old plat book. The city, all governmental agencies used to have these books, like before
Yes.
CAD. And if they were going to, reroute the garbage route or something, they would look, well, where is Rugby Drive? And they'd go back, and it would say that it was on Plate One, like a color
right.
illustration. And these were hand-drawn and hand watercolored. The city still has tons of them in their archives. And so I found one at an antique shop, and so I had the plate, and it showed the whole neighborhood. It's a plate of plats. It's all the plats that make up the
It's
neighborhood.
a plate of plats.
It's a plate of plats.
That's
It's not a plat
And-
of plates.
No.
Don't get
and So,
It's a bag
so
of
that
cats.
that was the name. And then when we opened downtown in the Ohio building, that's Plate One, which was really cool. And so now that is in
I
the
never
hand-
knew that was the background story.
And
That's
yes,
cool.
and so now that is also being operated by a wonderful family
Yes.
and House of Coffee, and it's got a kind of a Lebanese feel to it.
Yeah.
Great pastries. So they're both still, and that makes you really happy that they're both still serving their neighborhoods and they're both still
But
there.
12 years, 15 years
15 years.
is an amazing accomplishment.
So, Gretchen, coffee shop years like dog years.
Yes.
That's like 100 years.
Yeah, it is.
And people say to me,
any business is.
yeah, it is, any business.
Absolutely.
And it's gotten harder. I say show grace to locals because it's harder. Everything's harder. Everything's more expensive. And
We just said to our friends at WGTE, everything has been easy peasy, right?
there you go.
When you opened the coffee,
Well,
so you had the
yeah.
idea to open this coffee
Yeah.
shop, you open it. When was the moment that you realized that this was actually going to work?
Oh, that is a good. So
When you sold it.
so we had a grand opening.
Yeah.
Mayor Finkbeiner came and cut the ribbon. We had everybody who'd worked on the place,
Mm-hmm.
and all the news that came said, because of course a business opening in the recession, very strange,
Right.
and they just kept sort of like, why are you doing this? And I was, just my usual positive self.
Mm-hmm.
The next morning I get there at 5 in the morning, and now we'd had the usual problems overnight, or at the end of that opening, one of the grinders broke. My husband actually made the part. He tooled the part overnight for
Yeah.
me. Get there in the morning, we had a line. I think it was just of its moment. It was the
Yeah.
right moment, and that
Perfect
was
spot.
big day. And people thought it was a terrible spot because
Oh,
it was
really?
in a neighborhood. It wasn't on a street with 20,000 cars roaring by, where you would find a lot of the chains.
It's also an interesting layout from the city perspective, city planning. It's like it's
a unique
it's
little-
an angle.
It's a
Yeah,
weird little.
It is.
Everybody
yeah.
says it's on Detroit Avenue, but Rugby kind of goes
That's right.
along there.
Yeah.
So I have to tell you, people ask me all the time, well, what do you miss? And of course, I miss the people.
Sure.
I made a million friends. We were there. We were mentioned in people's obituaries. We helped them find lost dogs.
Yeah.
We celebrated good things, and we celebrated tough things like tests that came back. But we became a very important part of that family. And I'm glad that's still happening. But I will say the number one thing is I don't get constant texts anymore, day and night, that we're almost out of oat milk.
Yeah.
So
Right.
that's the payoff.
Or someone called off.
Or staff.
Yeah,
we need to replace
exactly,
X. So
exactly.
somebody didn't show up.
At one point, people may also remember that you served on Toledo City Council.
Yes.
You were an independent elected member of council. At what point in that run at Plate 21 did you
So
become-
they actually were related
Okay.
because I had gone to Bowser High School and lived in the same neighborhood with Rob
What'd you say?
Ludeman, and he used to say, you ought to run for council. And I'd be like, no, Rob, many things I should do, but that is not what I should do.
Sure.
We're raising our family, we had rental properties, we were, my husband worked in the trades, Local 55, Iron Ore.
All right, 55.
And so it was like, no. But my experience going through we gutted that place, and I mean every wire, every pipe, everything, and I learned so much about code upgrade, that when you change the use of a space, you have to bring it up to new construction codes. I learned so much about sign code, which became a
Major thing you
mission
worked
for
on,
me.
yes.
And all we wanted to do was put an awning with our logo. Very simple. Not allowed by the sign code. Yeah, and so we had to go to the Board of Zoning Appeals. We were delayed months in opening. It cost a lot of money. So
the sign code held you up from opening?
oh yeah.
What a nightmare.
Yeah. But that code upgrade, realizing that if we wanted to preserve those buildings that are part of placemaking, that are part of the fabric of a neighborhood, we had to support the code upgrade because it makes the return on investment impossible. You know, if you have to put sprinklers in, firewalls, you have to turn it into an accessible space, which we want, safe buildings, accessible buildings, but if you're going to do that, you've got to support it. And now we have the Vibrancy Initiative, what the city has supported, council has supported, that does the white box program for first floor
Which is a great
vacant
program.
spaces, and we've got a new and upgraded facade program. I used I was the last person to use an old facade grant during the Bell administration, and it was a very small grant, but what I did is all the businesses on that little strip in that really nice neighborhood, but they were all like vacant.
Yeah.
And they looked scrubby, and
Sure.
went and found all the owners and said, hey, I got this grant from the city and I can give you some of this money because I'd already funded my project. I wanted them to join me, and I said, how about new awnings, new storefront glass, what about it? And now that whole strip,
Yeah, that's
you know,
beautiful.
we have all these great
ma'am.
little businesses
That's right.
there. And so I wanted, that's what, you know, that statistically it shows that when women choose to run for office, it's because they want to fix a thing. And I wanted to fix that thing.
And those systems are just so directly tied. The inspection system, the code compliance departments, like you said, the sign code people, they're all different people.
Yes.
In many municipalities. They're all different departments.
Yes.
Sometimes they don't talk to each other. And so it really can be the effect that has on businesses and small businesses can either allow them to flourish or really be
But
detrimental.
also, more often than not, the people, and this isn't necessarily a criticism, it's just about experience. The people that are in those roles have not been small business owners and understand how it functions.
Yes.
So the practicality of payroll or the immediacy of being in a cash day-to-day business is lost on them, right? And again, it's just what you know. I do want to go back to Sandy. I'm embarrassed to say this, but other than what you just said about growing up in the south end of Toledo, I don't know about your upbringing. Your folks were whom? What did they do? How did they make Sandy Spang we know today? What's your maiden name?
Shank.
Gotcha.
So I barely changed.
Yeah, sure.
One sort of, you know, short German
Just a
name.
little
and then
change.
Just a little change. I am a Toledo girl. I think I was voted most likely to leave Toledo in my senior class, and I am so glad that I didn't. But I grew up in South Toledo. My dad worked for Toledo Edison.
All right.
And all his life he worked there. And my mom was home with us until she went to work for the Chamber of Commerce. And she loved it. But one of the distinctives of growing up for me was that my oldest brother, Steve, had Down syndrome. And so I was the youngest of three, two older brothers. And I would say that it had such an influence, shaped my life. I grew up in the developmental disabilities community. You know, people think of mainstreaming now. Mainstreaming came after my brother graduated from Lark Lane. I don't know if people know this, but Lucas County is the national pioneer in developmental disabilities. We were the first county in the country to offer families educational and employment services at no charge. People moved here for that.
Yeah.
And so we were pioneers, and I hope we always keep that. And that was because of one person, Josina Lott. And I always say, I think I knew her name before I knew Santa Claus's name.
Sure.
And so my brother was in that first group that went to first Josina Lott School Hefner, but then when Lark Lane was built, because of the levy to support, it wasn't called developmental disabilities at that time, it was the levy for retarded children. And but my mom, because the state did not give educational dollars, the per student dollars, if you weren't educable. Can you believe that? And that's in one lifetime.
Yeah.
We've come so far.
Yes, ma'am.
And so, my mom used to take me over. The moms did everything over there, and she used to take me and put me in the activities class while she did things at the school. And so when I got to kindergarten, I thought I'd entered the master race. I couldn't figure out, like, everybody was like, nobody had like braces, nobody had it was, but that shaped me. And at a pretty young age, I became my brother's guardian, and really
Interesting.
Yes, and so it really colored me, and he influenced me so much. I think it made me, I think I was a really idealistic kid, but I also think that it made me kind of a fighter and want to
advocate.
Yes, absolutely. Not just for him, but for everybody I knew who didn't have a strong family relationship or guardian. So he actually, near the end of his life, he actually worked at Plate 21.
All right.
He would get on tarps, and he would come over with his Plate 21 shirt, clean the tables from lunch, talk to everybody, fire my first and best hired barista, who then would make him his hot chocolate just the way he liked it.
That's right.
And then he would rehire them. And then actually Josh, that individual, became a pastor and gave the eulogy at Steve's funeral.
Oh,
And
what a nice
so
story.
it was.
Yeah, I'm sorry for his passing.
Well, thank you, but
Yeah.
he lived to be almost 62, and when he was born, his life expectancy was 29.
Yeah.
Again, we've come so far.
Right.
Yeah.
And now we have self-advocates. Now people with developmental disabilities are advocating for themselves, as it should be, and it's a one lifetime.
I also
of
think
massive change.
we all have a dear friend who talks a lot about their child and how they were warned about a quality of life, and your brother had a real quality of life.
He did.
Right.
He did.
We're talking with Sandy Spang, Gretchen's surprise guest here on a Friday edition of the 419. When we come back, I do want to dive into like the present, right?
Yeah.
So you left city government, you got promoted to get away from the chaos of people complaining about their trash not being picked up or their roads not being plowed or their sidewalks breaking down and all of the other issues that come with the joy of elected office.
Yes.
But you now lead the Lake Erie West Regional Council, which is the brand new name of what people long may know as TMACOG.
Yes.
The Toledo Metropolitan Area Regional Council of
Council of Governments. See,
Governments.
that's part of the
Council of
problem, right?
That's right. Yeah, sure.
TMACOG's easy, but then you're like, wait, what is it?
What's that stand for?
Yeah.
So easier to remember, the Lake Erie West Regional Council. That makes a lot more sense. We'll talk a little bit more about what that is and what, I guess, why that is as well.
Absolutely.
When we come back here on the 419 with our special guest, Sandy Spang.
To me, community means connecting to others.
I'm Donnie Miller, and welcome to The Point.
I love CBS Kids!
We're a community committed to education. Discover new ideas, dive into exciting subjects, and engage with the world around you.
I would send them personally a t-shirt. Crime doesn't pay in the old West End, pass it on. That's how we cleaned up the neighborhood.
Vision loss for people is not the end.
It's a story, it's the next chapter.
WGTE Public Media invites you to Get Out and Play Day.
Monday through Friday, it's the 419 powered by WGTE. With Matt Killam, Gretchen DeBacker, I'm Kevin Mullen. What can people expect on the show?
It's going to be an hour, a reminder of why this is a great place to live, work, and play.
WGTE, where you come to watch, listen, and learn.
Welcome back into the 419, powered by WGTE. We're talking with Gretchen's surprise guest, Sandy Spang. Before the break, we talked about the Lake Erie West Regional Council. What is that?
So, a lot of people, if they think that they know what we do, they know it because they've touched us in a certain way. One area that we work in, it's actually, we actually have created a document to show what we do, and we call it the onion, because it's like peeling an onion. And everything that we do, we shapeshift. We have a different geographic area for each area of work, which really makes it even more confusing. But what we are, as a regional council, those formed in the 1960s, as did TMACOG, And they formed in response to the federal government wanting to see regions stop competing with each other and start making decisions together. And most notably, that would be with metropolitan planning organizations, which are how federal highway funnels money to regions.
Okay.
So money that's meant for us, we're in District 2 for ODOT, money that's meant for us will come from federal highway through ODOT to us. And we get planning dollars for transportation planning, and we receive money for projects. But we don't decide, TMCOG staff does not, Lake Erie West staff does not make the decision about how that money is allocated. Members of the, stakeholders in the region, elected officials and folks who work in the engineering departments, administrative departments come together. First, communities submit projects, and then the technical advisory committee, that's where a lot of your engineers and people who work in those transportation offices, they score it based on a rubric that the region decided on.
Right.
We're actually looking at some of our rubrics now and kind of updating them for how the scoring works. And then that goes to the MPO Policy Board, which is elected officials throughout the region, and also like organizations that don't elect, like TARTA and the Port Authorities. And they make the final decision on how that money is allocated. And they determine what is going to make our transportation network safer, what is going to, even air quality. You know, if you ask yourself, why are there so many roundabouts? They score very high. Not only do they improve safety, but they improve the air because you don't have vehicles idling, stopping and starting, especially, trucks. So that's one of the reasons they score so well.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So does a municipality make application to the state for funding? The state says, here's your big pot.
They bring the application to us. And so that work is for Lucas and Wood and a little bit of Monroe, Michigan, those townships over Monroe, Michigan. So we do that work, but we also, in that work, do long-range planning. We're required by Federal Highway to look out 25 years.
Wow.
We just completed our 2055, and it looks at passenger rail, it looks at trails, and it looks at just every kind of transportation in our region. And we were commended by Federal Highway. We had 700 public comments on that report.
How about that?
So we want to extend that work now further into, there's now a movement for regional transportation planning organizations which serve rural areas in the same way. So we're working on an expansion into our rural counties. So altogether, we serve Monroe County, Michigan, Fulton County, Lucas, Wood, Ottawa, Sandusky, and we do some work now in Seneca.
Wow.
So that's transportation, very important. But we also do water quality work. We are the Ohio EPA's 208 Water Authority. 208 is a chapter in the Clean Water Act that was enacted in the 70s, and it's wastewater. So we make the wastewater plan for our region, where our areas sewered, where they're not, that sort of plan. And when a project is presented, whether it's a new manufacturing site or more housing, we determine that it meets the requirements of the plan, and we assign it to the facility that's going to treat it. We also work on the other side on stormwater. Stormwater is really important here. We're flat, and stormwater can do a lot of damage. So we have a lot of communities throughout the area we serve that have an MS4 permit. That's a stormwater permit from Ohio EPA, and we help them meet the requirements of it. They have to educate their staff, they have to educate people in the community who work in water, and they have to educate the public. So if you ever see a commercial saying, pick up after your dog, Matt, or don't put too much salt on your sidewalk, that's us helping all those communities collectively meet the educational requirements of those permits. So we also work for the general health of our waterways and work throughout the watershed. But we also have just started doing economic development, which was really what attracted me to come, because we have never been designated as an economic development district with the Economic Development Administration. There are 400 of those EDDs throughout the country. Half the population lives in one, half is out. But those EDDs get 71% of the EDA grants, 79% of the construction grants, and 3 times per capita the dollars.
Sandy, can I ask you, this potentially might offer up criticism of others, which is not your style, nor is why I'm asking, but how come we have not had that distinction, or how come?
Well, that's great, because I've gone through our archives 30 years ago. It was a decision that they were going to pursue it. The board voted to pursue it. I don't know historically why they didn't.
Got it.
It would have been easier then. But part of the requirement for that is that we do an economic development, they call it a comprehensive economic development strategy.
Interesting.
And Lucas Wood and Ottawa have had one of those. This is the third iteration. Every 5 years you update it. It's the first time that we've conducted it. But our state rep from the EDA said, you know, you'll have a better chance if you're a full region.
Sure.
So we brought Sandusky and Seneca into that 5-county SEDS now. So we're really excited about that. It's a blueprint for economic development and community development going forward. But that work and helping, we're really trying to help communities find resources on a one-on-one basis. So that's exciting in the economic development work.
Sandy, you have now held 2 roles to me that have always been wildly intimidating for somebody like myself in terms of just processing information, and the 2 roles of city council and now this. You know, I guess I've got 2 questions. First of which is, how do you find time to operate the day-to-day? TMACOG, the former TMACOG, is a small but mighty group. And I'm mentioning that because you are still having to make sure that the day-to-day things are functioning. It's not like you can hand these things off, although you have a great staff. You're small. But you are learning all of this information and then walking into rooms that you have to apply them right away. Same with city council, right? I always use myself as an example. We have a monthly board meeting. The packet is fairly thick. I'm involved in 80% of that packet's work. And I still have to look at it and reread because I have to remind myself, how do you?
Well, I would expand that question, if I could, briefly to talk about Sandy's role in the Economic Development Department.
Sure.
Which was a pivotal role then to get to the role that you are now. But I saw firsthand so many times that processing of that information. I would ask the same question, how you do it, because it's this ability to absorb it, read it, absorb it, but then also relate it to all of these other things that you have learned.
Is it a laptop open from 7 p.m. till midnight? How do you function?
Do you ever talk to your husband? Is really the question.
I do.
Are you trying to drown yourself? Is that why swimming is?
No. You know, I think it's important to know your strengths and your weaknesses. And we could make a whole show out of my weaknesses. I could share all the things that I'd love to be better at. But one thing that I think that I do well is assimilate information very quickly. And my kids would tell you, I have a low threshold for boredom and a very high threshold for risk. But we have 83 governmental members in our Council of Governments, which is my favorite part of the work that we do. And we work to meet their needs. But I will tell you, sometimes on council, you're right, we would have a 38-item agenda. And it would range from the Arts Commission to sewers.
100%.
You had to be a generalist. And I feel I always went in prepared and knew the direction. I would call people, I would gather information. But see, for me, that's not work. I love that. If it were the same information every day, I would struggle.
I get it.
I guess I'm made for that kind of work. When I determined to
You're curious on a molecular level.
Absolutely. When I decided I'm going to open a coffee shop, I had absolutely no reason to think I could do that. And the first thing I did is I went to, where are the national conferences? Oh, Coffee Fest. I'm going to go to Coffee Fest. That's where they do the latte art competition.
Got it.
So you go and you stand next to people who are successful and you listen and you learn and you develop the expertise. I attend about 8 conferences a year. Because think about it, I have to go to conferences for each of the different areas of work that we're in.
It's all anime conferences.
Absolutely, that's all we do. That's all we do.
It's all cartoons.
But I love it because you're learning, you're finding out what other people are doing. And one of the things about regional councils is that everybody is very open-handed in sharing because we all have defined geographic areas we serve, so we're not competitive. If somebody's got a good idea, we share it. So I think it's just...
I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit in terms of leadership, though. That doesn't happen that naturally. Go ahead.
We're talking with Sandy Spang. We've got a couple of minutes left. I want to get to our quiz here in a minute, but real quick, what is your dream for the Lake Erie West Regional Council?
There are 2 distinctives of what we do. One, we're apolitical. People leave their politics at the door. I don't even know the political affiliation of some of my members that are very active. It's not what we do. We make regional decisions. The other thing is we always look at the regional view. That's the 2 things that make us different than any other entity within our area. And so my goal is really that we learn to move as one on things that affect us all. We're doing that on the Route 23 bypass to give us, we're the only part of Ohio that doesn't have a free-flowing route to the 12th largest market in the country and one of the fastest growing. And so
that's
I think
Fremont, right?
Yes, getting to Fremont. I love Fremont. We're opening a satellite office in Fremont.
There you go.
It's a great town. But I think the idea is that we learn our muscles, we get stronger muscles for regionalism. We learn
100%.
to do that better so that we are able to compete with the other kids who are doing that
You're the
very
perfect
well.
person to lead
Thank you.
that effort.
I love the
Yep.
work. I
Yep.
love the work.
All right, it's now time for
Gretchen's
Wacky Quiz. I'm going to give you 4 rapid-fire questions. Gretchen's asking for your favorite thing in Toledo, and Matt is asking you to describe the region in exactly 9 words.
Yeah. Okay.
Not 8.
Or you're penalized.
Not 10.
Or you have to stay on the show longer.
Yeah.
That is how Gretchen got here.
Yeah.
I thought if I talked a lot and fast, I'd be
filibuster?
able to skip this, but
Yeah.
Nope,
okay,
no
we're on
chance.
it.
Yep.
No chance. All right, what household chores do you dislike the most?
Ooh. Well, I like to cook. I suppose probably anything boring and repetitive,
That's all of them. All right.
I do a lot of books on tape while I'm doing laundry and things like
Sure.
that. And I am married to MacGyver.
Yeah.
I've told you this
But
before.
your clothes are so tiny. How cumbersome
It
could that
still
possibly
counts.
be? Yeah.
But I don't have to fix things. My husband is
I remember
truly the
saying that.
MacGyver guy.
If you could only listen to one song for the rest of your life, which song would you pick?
Oh, that's
Great
hard.
question.
Up on a roof.
Yeah,
Oh,
all right.
that's nice.
What's the one thing the rest of your family loves, but you hate?
No, it's the other way around.
Them.
I love baseball, and except
I
for
knew that.
Except for my youngest son, everybody hates it. So I hate that they hate baseball.
All right. What's your middle name?
Lee.
All right.
Sandy Lee Spang. I'm going to call you that from now on.
Thank you. Thank you.
What is
And
your
you are a baseball junkie, by the way. That isn't just liking baseball. She is a lunatic when it comes to baseball.
That's what you and Wade have in common.
I've witnessed
Yes,
this.
and
Yeah.
I am going to Tiger Spring training for the first time.
Wow.
And just to say something controversial, I have absolutely no idea why there are any Guardians fans in this region. The Mud Hens are the taxi squad for the Tigers. I was born a Tiger. I will die a Tiger. I do not understand this, and I know that I've now offended a lot.
We're going to have
It's
to have a
okay.
debate.
There you go.
We only have 2
Guardians.
listeners, and they're both Tigers.
Oh, good.
fans.
Okay, good. I'm okay. Okay.
Yeah.
What's your number one most favorite thing about the city of Toledo or the region?
I just love our history. I share that with the mayor. I love our history, and I love that we're building on it, not leaving it behind. You take it, we're the Glass City. We've been 3 iterations, I think important iterations of the Glass City. We were Glass City when Libby came here and established glass manufacturing, which kind of put the kibosh on the art glass movement, but then we restored it at the Art Museum, and now we're leading the world in thin glass for solar. Glass, so we build on our history.
That's so
and we
interesting,
restore
yeah.
buildings, and I think so many people, young or old, know about our history. So I love that. Jeep, we're building on what our past is.
All right, here we go. 20 seconds, 9 words on your mark, get
Fire
set,
away.
go.
Okay, I knew about this, so I worked on it. So, maritime,
Got it.
Nice.
gateway,
Good start.
glass,
Love it.
artistic,
Yes.
authentic,
Halfway home.
welcoming,
Do it. Sandy?
collaborative,
Yes.
entrepreneurial,
All right. One more.
emerging.
Love it. Nailed it.
Sandy Spang, thank you so much for joining
You're
us.
the best.
Here
Sandy
on the
Lee
400
Spang.
Sandy Lee
and-
Spang.
Now know.
This is very unfortunate.
Sandy
Never mind.
Lee
Sandy Spang.
Spang.
Yep.
All right, we'll be right back on the 419.
Support for the 419 comes from Witro Wealth Management, where we understand that your financial path is personal. Advisory services are offered through Capital Investment Advisory Services, LLC. Securities offered through Capital Investment Group, Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. More information at witroadvisors.com.
Destination Toledo. Whether you're a local or a visitor, Destination Toledo invites you to explore the region and be a tourist in Toledo. Find events, dining, and things to do at visittoledo.org.
WorkSpring. HR issues and employee well-being go hand in hand. WorkSpring supports employers through compliance, training, and wellness because healthy workplaces don't happen by accidents. Learn more at workspring.org.
Toledo Refining Company, a subsidiary of PDF Energy. Toledo Refining Company is a supplier of fuels that keep our region moving. Located in Oregon, Ohio, the refinery processes crude oil into gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, and other petroleum products.
And Tarda, celebrating its 55th year of connecting Northwest Ohioans to their community. More information at tarda.com.
Welcome back into the 419. Wrapped up a conversation with Gretchen's surprise guest, Sandy Spang, and we're joined now by one of our Lucas County commissioners, Lisa Sobecki.
Lisa Sobecki.
Welcome. Thanks for being here.
All the way from 114th Street.
117th. Let's get it
I
right.
didn't want to give you a
please.
real street.
Everyone else knows it,
Yeah,
so why,
that's true.
why
Yeah.
not?
Yes,
It's on
ma'am.
all my reports.
I appreciate that you went 3 blocks off, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. Well,
you'll never find her now.
Yeah, but that's the trick.
Oh,
right?
okay.
Yeah, that's where the library is.
So
Yeah.
true.
Is
So
that-
true.
that's right,
It
right?
is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Well done, Matt.
I love my library.
So do I. It's a great
Lisa,
library.
thank you so much for being on the
Yeah.
program. If people don't know who you are, who
Lucky them.
are you? No. So how long have you been serving on the county commissioners?
I am starting my 4th year, my first term. So people don't know who I am. I'm Matt Killam. And I get up very early in the morning.
Yeah.
You're my favorite Matt Killam in town.
Yeah, mine too.
Well, thank you.
Mine too, actually.
No, but I'm starting my 4th year on the first term of being county commissioner, but just really enjoy the job, really enjoy the people, just really enjoy the work,
Yeah.
and just most importantly, enjoy serving.
But this is not your first trip to play in terms of service. You're a veteran.
I'm a
as
veteran,
well.
Navy veteran.
So start me out. I know this, but you are not from Ohio. You are from the great state of Missouri.
Missouri.
Okay.
Come on, please
Yeah,
get
she
it
loves
right.
that.
It does not have an A at the end.
Missouri?
It has an
Well,
I
not to
on
my
the
family.
end.
Yeah. But bring us from little Lisa to today.
Oh, little Lisa. Okay, we're going to start around birth. No,
Yeah.
really. I'm born and raised in a little town called Republic in
Sure.
Missouri, and grew up in a household with 4 other sisters. So
Oh
had
my
a lot of
God.
debate in one bathroom.
Where are you in the lineage?
I'm the second, but I'm really the first.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No,
Yep.
the second. But then the twins came along at the end and kind of ruined it
Twins.
all.
Good
you
Lord.
know,
It took all
for
the
everyone.
attention.
All
Yeah.
the attention.
Yeah.
You know, the Aquanet days in the
Yes.
bathroom with the curling irons and all those good things.
I
And-
lived those this morning.
Yeah, isn't it fun?
Yes,
we
so
can tell
fun.
by the hairdo this
I'll tell you
morning.
what, thank you. And that Aquanet is delicious.
But graduated from high school, joined the United States Navy, spent 5.5 years there. Was the first female firefighter in the United States Navy.
I did not know that.
I didn't know that either.
How about that?
And taught.
And where did you serve? What area?
I was in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba for 3.5 years. Really enjoyed it. It was a different Guantanamo Bay, Cuba back then. Late 80s, early 90s.
It was like Epcot then.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Learned how to scuba dive.
Yeah.
Because actually when I went in, I wanted to be a Navy diver.
You're kidding me.
No.
Interesting.
Where did that come from? Like, why? What was it that drew you to the Navy?
Because I thought it would be kind of cool to be on the ocean.
Heck yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Really, you know, there was no
view of it.
No
you know, you
view
can
of
swim in it, right? Like Sandy's figured out how to just swim in the ocean.
Yeah, well,
You don't
I'm
have
not
to
as good as Sandy
enlist.
because
Okay.
I didn't make it as a diver.
That's okay. This is not a judgment show.
But I missed it by 2 pull-ups because you have to do an endurance test, and to make that through there, I missed it by 2 pull-ups. So
I missed to the point with Donnie Miller by 2 pull-ups.
well, you know,
Yeah, I would have led that show, but she beat me out. She's very strong.
Would have been to the point with Matt Killam.
That's right.
but don't ask me to do a pull-up today
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not going to do it. I'm not
Ask
going to
none
do
of
it
us.
in a
No
you
one
know,
should. No one
airport
should
or
be doing
anything.
pull-ups.
I
Well,
can't do
well,
that.
we could have 50 minutes straight with you, but I don't want to miss out on the conversation about getting you to Toledo, Ohio, your work in Columbus and today. So talk to us a little bit about that journey, things that you're proud of from Columbus and what we're doing today.
Well, I'm going to back it up a moment.
Okay, well,
because
you're in
I
charge.
started on Toledo Public School Board for 8 years.
That's right.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And during a very difficult time in the school system, being able to shape, but also at the same time, we were building 44 schools and renovating 2 100-year-old high schools.
Yeah.
So when I look around
What was the date of that? To remind me, that your run on the school board was what time?
2008.
Okay.
and served there for 2 terms. I chose not to run for a 3rd term. My boys were going into high school, and I feel like I need to practice what I preach, like stay in your kids' lives in high school, because that's when they don't want you there. You'll experience this soon.
Yes.
But is that took a little break, worked at Jobs and Family Services for almost 10 years, and then
just a little break for a decade of services. Yeah. Just putting your feet up on the desk, I'm sure that wasn't.
No, but I really enjoyed that work at Jobs and Family Services, and really appreciate our county workers that do that work.
Absolutely.
And then was asked by many in the community about, hey, there's an opportunity to go to the State House. So I said, why not?
Yeah, exactly.
But was that really your impulse? I mean, you are from Missouri. You are absolutely an advocate for all things, but never at one time in any of these paths were you like, can I really do this? Or never intimidated? You were just ready to belly up and do the work?
Didn't really care. Let's do it. Let's
do
it.
Good for you.
Let's have an experience. It's all been experience.
Yeah.
So I've spent 2 terms there, and then ran to be a county commissioner. Here I am today.
You have a much shorter commute now. That's a good thing.
Yeah. I don't know if you've seen her drive. It's about the same time, really.
Well, the people saw that today when I was coming in. But, but it is a shorter commute, but I still make the commute. And on behalf of the constituents here, and actually my commute has gone to Washington, D.C. a couple of times on behalf of Lucas County. So really commute is not the issue. It's how I can better serve the people in Lucas County and our residents and getting our voices heard.
We have a sort of a questionnaire we do with the group, but I guess to sort of crib a little bit from that, when you think about the 420,000 people you serve, how do you describe them? What's our region to you? What are the people like? How would you describe your constituents?
Our region constituents are a variety of people, and they're really like the people that I grew up with in Missouri.
Yeah.
So we have farmers.
Yeah.
We have just a variety of folks. We have small business. We have large industry, and I look at everyone equally.
Yes, you do.
And the stories, listen to them, listen to the concerns, and how we can make Lucas County better. So one of the first things I did when I came into the county was do a strategic plan. All businesses have plans and directions, and so be able to bring that into the county, and we're starting into the implementation stage of the strategic plan because the county had never had one. And so I'm really excited for how we're going to be able to do that. But here's the piece, though, is the citizens had an opportunity to put input into that strategic plan. It wasn't just our internal people, it was external people. And so I'm really excited for us to be able to have that direction. And sometimes as electeds, we need a little direction because we're all going all over the different places. But I think that's going to strengthen us and position us and have us moving forward.
How do you tap into what some of the mayors in the county are doing? What's your communication like with those that are leading the cities as the county leader?
As I meet with the mayors. Matter of fact, I'm not sure when this is actually going to air, but matter of fact, this week though, last week I just met with the mayor of Oregon when he first came, coming in, new, getting to know him a little bit better, asking him what the needs are there and where the county can be helpful, but also letting him know the direction of the county. So we're all coming as a team in a direction. I've met with the mayor from Sylvania, I've met with the mayor of White House and in Waterville, and so just really, and the mayor of Toledo. But if we're not all kind of rowing in the same direction.
Right. Or at least at minimum, not accessible to one another, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
I'm curious, I mean, how you kind of approach this job, right? So you say, you meet with all of the mayors. Well, there's 3 county commissioners, right? So are all 3 of the county commissioners theoretically supposed to be doing that? Or do you, amongst yourselves, kind of divide and say, hey, I'm going to focus on this region, you focus on that region, or I'm going to deal with these people, you deal with those people? Or how does this work?
How does this work? And that's a very good question.
Can you pretend like I asked it?
I will. You had a great question.
Thank you.
But is that, we all meet with them.
Yeah.
I think it's important that we all have the same information.
Yeah.
So we don't really split it up. My colleagues, we service all.
Yeah.
And we meet with all. And then we come, we gather information. And so that's how we're going to be able to continue to move and shape Lucas County.
Is there something that you think that
we could do to make our show better?
Or constituents have the biggest misconception they have about the city-county relationship, or the fact that they are two distinct entities of government? Do you find there's some consistent thread that people don't understand about that relationship?
I don't think that people really understand how city and the county really operate.
Agreed.
And that's one of the missions, per se, that I have, is really that distinction. We don't set policy in the county commissioners. What we do is we're an arm of the state government. And so being that arm and how we operate within our county and how we move forward on that. But also is those communication skills and having relationships. It's just not with our government. It's with the people that we serve. It's having relationships with folks so that they know that when they talk to you and what you say to them and what you're going to do for them, you're actually able to produce that. And sometimes it's really hard to do that because there's lots of high expectations. There's even a disconnect, I think, of understanding our role as a county commissioners and, say, the sheriff.
Certainly.
For example, we've had some weather this year. And so people will be calling me, just like when I was on school board, going, can you cancel school? Can you get a level 3?
Yeah. I'm just trying to get anybody that I know I can text to try to get a level 3. So I apologize for that.
Yeah, and that's in the spring.
And that's okay. We're working on that.
Just because I didn't want to go to court that day.
But when it's sunshiny, though,
yeah, but it is
we have the sunshine.
It is a real weird thing that of all the government entities, that the sheriff is the one that declares the level 3. I mean, whatever snow emergency level it is.
We're talking with Lucas County Commissioner Lisa Sobecki. What's the worst part of this job?
Don't say this interview. Think of something.
No,
else.
this is the best part.
Yeah.
I really can't think of the worst part. I guess it would be maybe, and what we're not supposed to do is
I can
read
think
comments.
of the worst part. Do you want me to say it?
Go ahead. Please.
Go ahead.
But no, there really isn't a worst part. But I would say, though, is you're not supposed to read the comments on things.
Oh my God, yeah. Sure. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And I've read the comments.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of hairstylists out there, a lot of makeup designers out there, a lot of clothes designers out there. So I take those for heart.
Yeah.
I guess that is the emotional part of it.
Yeah.
I guess ties into this too. My question is, the guest before you was Sandy Spang, a friend and partner in crime of yours. But I guess I pose the same question to you. How do you keep the energy up? How do you keep going at it with the fervor that you have? I mean, you are a human being, so comment sections and the newspaper and things of that variety hurt, right? Because you don't operate this way without having an emotional investment in it. How do you tackle getting up every day and duking it out? And talk to me about the human component of this.
Every day is a challenge.
Sure.
And so I try to meet that challenge each and every day. So if someone's upset with the decision I've made, I want to reach out and talk to them. Let's just have a cup of coffee.
You're right.
Let's just have a conversation. And usually by the time I end that cup of coffee or that conversation with them, we can get on the same accord. And we can also walk away sometimes to agree to disagree.
Yes, ma'am.
And right now, where we are kind of as a country, we need to be able to display that.
Yeah, yes.
And so I try
Modeling
to do that.
adult behavior.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
Of which you have none of.
Yeah.
But
thank you.
First of all, that's my role in the show to say things like that. So
we've now found our replacement for Matt Killam.
Yeah.
It's the other Matt Killam.
It was between you and a puppet.
Yeah,
there you go.
So one of our requirements on this program is for you to come on the show, you have to bring a gift. And I see that you did follow Gretchen's very specific instructions that you have to gift us something. What did you bring?
I not only brought one gift, I brought 3 gifts.
Getting a little
and so I've been watching this show because I want to make sure that I got in here in time for a box.
Yes.
That I could put a display in for you all. But this is our Lucas County frog, and this really represents our county. We're all mud made. I may not be from here, but I've come into being.
Mud Maid sweatshirt on that Matt has.
I
Perfect.
really didn't text him to wear that.
No.
You are awesome.
That's what I keep telling people.
But, you know, we are some mud-made, strong, gritty people here in Lucas County. So I wanted to present this for you all, too.
Thank you so much.
Say Caruth.
A Caruth frog. Says Lucas County, Ohio.
Oh, but we're not done.
Okay.
I have other gifts. We also have a challenge coin that I want to give you, each of you one.
Yeah. I can swallow that, no problem. Is that the challenge?
Do not take
They're
it
not
out of the
chocolate.
wrapping for you, please.
Okay.
But this represents Lucas County. And if you look on the back of it, and this is another thing that I brought in, because this is from my military days. And when people in your community go beyond the call of duty, of which each one of you have done, by doing this show and getting the message out there and staying persistent on your 3rd year of doing this, I really wanted to present this to you because it just shows the, the tenacity, the work that you're doing. You're not giving up.
No, that's so kind.
And getting the message out.
Thank
It
you.
also is our Lucas County pin for the 250th anniversary. And so I wanted to present that with you also. It's a display of Lucas County, and just really want you to take this as an opportunity to wear it.
Yes, ma'am.
This whole year, so I'll be watching to see if you're up for the challenge. So
Thank you,
thank
Commissioner
you.
Sobecki,
That's just
for
so
coming
kind.
in.
Yeah, it is so nice to have
We're going to
you.
find a good shelf for our frog.
Yep, she already told me where it was going. So.
Okay.
Lisa's picked out her own show.
Yes,
I
and
love
she
it.
wasn't going to move on it. So.
Yeah. Thank you so much to Lisa Sobecki. When we come back, we'll wrap up this Friday edition of the 419.
You laughed with us. You learned with us.
Hi, neighbor.
We made sure your childhood was special. Memories that could only be provided by PBS. For generations, we've given you programs that made a difference. Programs that entertained, informed, and inspired. And today is no different. This is WGTE Public Media in Toledo. It's where you belong.
Introducing The Local Thread, a community news series uniting voices and storytellers from across the region. In partnership with La Prensa, the Toledo Free Press, the Sojourner's Truth, Toledo Public Schools, and veteran journalist Jerry Anderson. The Local Thread brings you stories and conversations that connect our community. Hear it weeknights at 7 on FM 91 with early access on podcast platforms each morning. The Local Thread, only on WGTE.
Welcome back into the 419 as we wrap up a Friday edition with our surprise guest, Sandy Spang.
Yep.
Surprise guest.
Sandy Lee Spang.
Sandy, and
She
also.
hates that. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
She hates
That's
that.
what she told me. So
Yeah.
Sandy Spang.
Awesome. Let's do more of that. And Lisa Sobecki as well. Lisa presented us with a very kind, not just a really nice couple of gifts, but also specifically picked out where she wanted it to go on the shelf, and I love that so
Couple
much.
of heavy hitters, some real local women that are leading our region. It's
What
really
you've got-
amazing.
you've got-
And then Sandy left with us. This is world famous. So this is a very world famous gift from Sandy Spang. It's her homemade hot pepper jelly. You put it on cream cheese with crackers. It's delicious. So she brought each of us a little jar of that.
And she
that
warned
makes.
us that it was very hot.
It's very hot.
Yeah, I'm excited to try this. This is not something that we should put on the shelf.
No, take this home.
Yeah.
Give it to your children.
Noted. Surprise, surprise. If you missed any part of the show, there's 3 great opportunities to enjoy it. 7 a.m. on WGTE's YouTube channel, 3 p.m. on FM 91, and 6 p.m. on WGTE Connect's channel 30.4. Of course, all of our past episodes are also available online at WGTE.org/the419. Huge thanks to both Lisa Sobecki and Sandy Spang for joining us on the program. Gretchen, nice job
Great
as
job,
usual.
Thanks.
Mayor Monday. Well, we'll talk to some of our favorite mayors in the region, at least of the ones that we've talked to. So that and more on the 419, powered by WGTE and presented by our friends at Witro Wealth Management.
The 419, powered by WGTE, is made possible in part by supporters like you. Thank you.